New York City's Canyon of Heroes has an echo all its own. The greatest athletes, the greatest moments, they all grace the New York stage. This is the town where legends are written, where history is made, and where games can be larger than life. But one chapter of New York's sports history has vanished without a trace. Across the Harlem River, on a place called Coogan's Bluff, a housing project now stands on what once was the Polo Grounds. This was home to the baseball giants, Yankees, and Mets. But there is no mention of the New York Titans, who played there from 1960 through 1962.
Somebody said, "Did you play with the Jets all your career?" And I said, "No, I played the first 3 years of the New York Titans." You know. And
we didn't laugh at them. The people laughed at them. The people that knew they were in town, and there weren't many.
I remember the empty stands, and I remember the guys wondering whether they were going to get their checks or not, and whether or not the checks would bounce or whether they'd be good the next day.
What the players would do at the Polo Grounds was they would, right after practice, they would skip showering and run down to Hanover Trust, because it was basically first come, first served on payroll checks.
The man most responsible for the Titans' humble beginnings was its owner, Harry Wismer. A nationally known sportscaster, Wismer was a charter member of the Foolish Club, the original team owners in the fledgling American Football League.
Good evening, everyone. This is Harry Wismer inviting you to join me on the 50-yard line of the nation's professional gridiron as we review the...
Harry Wismer was legendary. He did a lot of radio, I think, in Detroit.
Football game.
One day, somebody was, watching the game on television when he was doing it on radio, and it was an entirely different game.
Wismer dreamed of owning his own team and saw his opportunity in the country's biggest market. And he hired the biggest name he could find as his coach, Hall of Famer Sammy Baugh.
He was one of the all-time great quarterbacks who couldn't begin to explain to young quarterbacks how he did what he did. He was the coach because he was the best name Harry could find in the hopes of selling some tickets.
Unfortunately for the Titans, Wismer's vision was bigger than his bank account.
he really thought that when we hit New York City, we were going to have an average crowd of 40,000, 50,000 people. And when that didn't happen, he was on such a short shoestring and a budget that he just couldn't function.
We had in Harry Wismer maybe the most eccentric owner in pro football history.
Going to Harry's apartment, and the bedroom was like the ticket office, so there'd be all these thousands of tickets spread out on beds and floors and everything, but that was the office.
How I let him talk me into going up there, I don't know to this day. The biggest mistake I ever made. The worst damn place I ever saw. We used to play there when I was at Washington. That's where the Giants played their game. But it had been run down and it was dirty, and we never worried about the people in the stands because we had them outnumbered and we damn felt safe all the time. We could go up there and whip everybody that's at the game.
Few sports organizations had as rocky a start as the New York Titans.
The crowd was so small that I was able to go up and shake hands with everyone that was there and congratulate them on coming to the game.
There were sometimes less than 500 people in the stands, and one writer put it nicely. He said that no one could figure out how the Titans came up with the figure 18,223 people in attendance. Perhaps 18,000 of those came disguised as empty seats.
I walked into the dressing room and I heard this clanging. I couldn't figure out what in the heck was going on. And I opened the door and one of the equipment managers was in there and he had a trash can. And he was beating on the side of this trash can. I asked him, what was he doing? He said he was running the rats out.
Things weren't much better when the Titans went on the road.
They would come out to play you and they were kind of what you'd call a hot sheet team. That is, they would come into town at 1 o'clock in the morning, check into a motel
for a 7 or 8 o'clock game that night and tell their players, you can sit on the bed, but don't pull back the covers. We got a special rate that they don't have to remake the room, so you can't sleep, but you can sit on the bed.
Players washed their own uniforms and hitchhiked home from practice. And things really bottomed out with the team doctor. He was a proctologist. Still, the Titans played on, enduring other minor obstacles.
There were just some things that were missing, such as playbooks. We didn't have any playbooks, so we just carried notebooks around and sort of scribbled down plays as they came available.
Al Doro is the quarterback.
Despite that oversight, the Titans were 7-7 in each of their first 2 seasons, thanks to one of the league's best offenses.
67 yards for the touchdown.
But even when they were beating the Chargers, there was no light at the end of the tunnel.
I think there was somewhere around 2 minutes left. And the official came over and told Sammy that it was getting dark and wanted to turn the lights on. And so he radioed, telephoned upstairs to Mr. Wismer.
I guess Mr. Wismer realized if he flipped that light switch on, it was going to cost so many dollars in electricity bill.
And Mr. Wismer said, to hell with them, we're doing all right in the dark.
The sun seldom shone on the Titans of New York. Everything about the team seemed broken. Everything but their spirit.
We'd say, hell, let's just give it up. Let's just quit, you know. And they said, well, nobody really wanted to do that. We'd take a vote on it. And everybody'd say, something good will happen, you know, so let's play. We still got to play.
From playing against the Titans, you couldn't tell that they were concerned about the financial problems. They stepped on the field and they tried to hand you your helmet, and they played tough and they played aggressive.
And I think that tells you a lot about the type of players that we had, that they would have probably played for nothing, because we actually were playing for nothing.
By 1962, the Titans were bankrupt. AFL owners feared a collapse of the New York franchise might take down the entire league. Men like the Oilers' Bud Adams and the Chiefs' Lamar Hunt helped keep the Titans afloat until new ownership could be found.
I believe this day that Mr. Wismer had the best intentions in the world, and he got in over his head financially.
Harry Wismer had great ideas. In fact, he's the guy that really came up with the thing that all of sports uses, share and share alike on the television money.
Without a TV contract, of course, the American Football League could not have survived, and was on its way out until it happened.
He was very free-hearted, and I think if he could ever had any money, that the Titan franchise would probably be the New York Titans today.
For us to lose that part of history is really a shame. But we don't want to dwell on it too much, because we had a lot of fun, but it's just a part of our life that sometimes it's best not to be spoken of.
Finally, a group headed by Sonny Werblin bought the team. Werblin had been a major power broker in Hollywood. Now his entertainment marketing skills began to put his new team on the marquee. He changed the team's colors, renamed the Titans the Jets, and hired Weeb Ewbank, who coached 2 NFL championship teams in Baltimore. Good feelings were taking hold, and when the Jets moved into a new home at Shea Stadium, there was a sudden demand for tickets.
When the Jets moved into Shea Stadium, they started attracting 50,000 fans, and that was very critical for the success of the whole league. It gave the league a New York address, and it gave them a tone that they did not have before.
With a look to a new age, the Jet Age, the Jets' future was cleared for takeoff. After 4 years of futility, the Jets began playing Saturday nights at Shea, and they were ready for prime time. The roar of jets taking off from nearby LaGuardia was drowned out by the roar of sellout crowds.
The management of the New York Jets welcomes you to the first football game at Shea Stadium. More than 52,000 fans thronged to see the Jets open the 1964 AFL season against the Denver Broncos. Tall Dick Wood at quarterback. Dick's target is Gene Heater. He's got the ball on the 6, and he drives his way into the corner for a first touchdown. History in Shea Stadium. We zoom down on Bill Mathis, the veteran, 220 pounds. He comes crashing across the right side as he spurts between the goalposts, and the Jets make their debut in Shea Stadium, a 30-6 triumph over the Denver Broncos.
The Jets made history with the AFL's first 60,000-plus crowd. By snatching rookie running back Matt Snell from the crosstown rival Giants, they made headlines.
Landing Matt Snell was very significant at the time for the simple reason the Giants wanted Matt Snell terribly. And here Matt Snell opted for the Jets. And that was a great symbolic uplifting for the Jets. And in those days, they needed all the symbolism they could get.
Matt Snell helped build Shea Stadium during his college vacations. Now he helps set records on its turf.
Sonny Werblin fought enough for me after they drafted me number 1 to come out to Ohio State himself, to try to convince me that the AFL was sound, it was solid, it was going to be here. I decided that, hey, if you're going to play ball, I want to play right away. And I knew I could do it with the Jets. And I believe that this league is here to stay. Everyone considered the AFL, except the players, they considered the AFL was inferior to the NFL. I didn't think that. So it worked out fine for me.
Snell became the AFL Rookie of the Year, and the Jets became a player in the most important arena in American sports. Indeed, the Jets were flying high. Still, the team lacked a bigger-than-life personality to capture the imagination of all New York. That would change in 1965.
In 1963, Sonny Werblin bought a football team. In 1965, he bought a legend.
You know, these people here, your future coach and the owner, Mr. Werblin, have referred to you as the greatest football player in college this year. You haven't even put on a Jet uniform yet. You already feel a little bit of pressure?
Well, pressure just makes you go all the more. I kind of like pressure a little bit.
Mr. Werblin, you're the man that's given all this money. We don't know the exact figures, but...
and you're not going to know it.
You know, well, what kind of an estimate, or what can you tell us about it?
Well, Bob, all I can say is that we think it's a lot of money, but it's commensurate with his ability.
The price to sign Joe Namath was $427,000, an outrageous sum in those days, especially for a player in need of knee surgery before he ever played a down.
After my first operation, Jim Nicholas, the Jets head orthopedist, said, "Joe, the operation went well. We think you can play 4 years." And I was just, thank you, Lord, you know, and but it hurt, and I had trust in the doctors. So I didn't question my ability to be able to play. I just knew that I had to suck it up.
Growing up, Namath modeled himself after the Colts quarterback number 19, Johnny Unitas. But while Unitas combined a clean-cut approach with a quiet confidence, Namath proved to be bold, with a brash disposition to match.
I remember one time at a table with Mr. and Mrs. Werblin at the Four Seasons, and I was so upset because something had been written about our team, about me, and I was just ready to call it, I said, this is ridiculous. And Mrs. Werblin just chuckled. She said, Joseph, it's show business. I said, no, it's not. It's football. This is football. It's not show business. She said, Joey, it's show business. And that has stayed with me since.
Joe Namath in Beauty Mist pantyhose? Yes, we did it to prove that Beauty Mist can make any legs look like $1 million.
Now, I don't wear pantyhose, but if Beauty Mist can make my legs look good, imagine what they'll do for yours.
And so, Broadway Joe was born. He was an instant celebrity. He attracted attention everywhere he went, especially from opposing defenses.
I believe it was on Thursdays, they would drain each knee, and then Joe would be so kind of stiff for a half a day or a day. And then all of a sudden, come Sunday, everybody got well.
He was tough, really tough. I mean, he wouldn't succumb to anybody. I mean, he'd look him in the face, and these guys were out to get him.
The team that caused Namath the most pain was the Oakland Raiders. In the second-to-last game of 1967, defensive end Ike Lassiter broke his cheekbone. Namath continued to play and refused to acknowledge the injury, even when questioned by the media.
After the game, they told me, what happened to your face or whatever, and I told him, I bit into a bad steak in the morning, hard steak, and I hurt my damn. I wouldn't give any satisfaction to the opponents. I mean, under any circumstances.
The next week, Namath became the first quarterback in pro football history to throw for 4,000 yards in a season. The legend of Broadway Joe was growing on and off the field, but at least one Jet refused to bend over backwards to embrace it. Jerry Philbin, number 81, was the Jets' starting defensive end and the team's best pass rusher. He struck fear into opposing quarterbacks and wanted desperately to tear into his own.
We had all the respect for Joe as a quarterback, but all he did is have yes people around him, and he had no one to control him, no one to tell him he was hurting the team by his image. And he was hurting me and my living because he was taking money out of my pocket because we didn't get to the championship in '67, which we should have.
In 1967, Namath may have thrown for 4,000 yards, but he also had 28 interceptions. He misfired 6 times in a 28-28 tie to the Oilers that ultimately cost the Jets the division title. In another game, Namath almost failed to show altogether.
He came in 10 minutes before the game, all disheveled. You knew he had been out all night long. And I called him a prima donna. Walt Michaels threatened if we didn't win the game, he was in trouble. There was a big episode in the locker room. We won the game. He went out and had a good game. And so there were 2 sets of rules that were created, one for Joe and one for everybody else. And Joe played on that.
It seems almost un-American to me for a bachelor not to, go around having a drink with a lady now and then. And why all of a sudden that's become an evil in me, I don't know, but some people don't like it. Well, you can't please everybody. I'm just trying to get along, just trying to get by. Look at that shot.
Joe had to change his ways, and we were all ready now to bring it to management and let them know about it. But they knew it. And so the following year, they came to the players and they said, look, you got to get Joe elected captain. You got to make him captain because you got to give him some responsibility. When he gets this responsibility, he'll show that leadership.
At the start of the 1968 season, for the first time since becoming a Jet, Namath was elected offensive captain.
It was a stunning feeling, you know. One that to this day I cherish more than any kind of accolades or whatever things that's happened.
Joe, to this day, thinks that he was elected because he was a leader. It was the complete opposite why we elected him captain, because he didn't have the leadership. He needed the responsibility.
In 1968, Namath became more than just a captain. He became the catalyst behind a championship run that changed the game of pro football forever. In 1958, Don Maynard was drafted by the New York Giants. That season, the Giants faced Coach Weeb Ewbank, Johnny Unitas, and the Baltimore Colts in the NFL championship game.
It doesn't pay you any extra money, but the first guy to ever receive a kickoff in an overtime game was me.
The return would be Maynard's last as a Giant. The following year, he was released from the team.
I was a young guy, and a lot of times I think about it occasionally. You know, I was devastated.
In 1960, Maynard became the first player signed by the New York Titans of the AFL. 3 years later, the Titans became the Jets, and Ewbank became the head coach and general manager. Ewbank began overhauling the team, and Maynard's job was again in jeopardy.
First year when they came in, they started getting on my case about do this, do that. And so the next year when I came to camp, I said, I need to talk to you and all the other coaches. And I said, I don't need anybody to chew me out about anything. I said, I train as good as anybody in pro football, and I said, I don't drop passes and I don't run wrong patterns. Y'all trade me, cut me, or don't say another word to me as long as I'm here. And I was probably emotional pretty good about the situation. And then I said, I'm walking out the door and y'all make up your minds.
The Jets gave Maynard a new contract, but his frugal ways remained.
He lived in New York from Texas. He never bought a winter coat, never had an overcoat living in New York.
Now, I was tight, but Weeb was cheap. I was negotiating with him one time, and he never looks at you. He just writes a figure on the pad, and he pushes it over to you and said, how about that? I said, oh, gee, equipment guy makes more money than that. And then he writes another, and he pushes it out to you and said, how about that? And I said, oh, gee, taxi drivers make more than that. Finally, you sign, you know, and he jumps up out of his chair, and he puts his hand across, and he wants to shake hands with you. He said, glad to have you with us. Now, don't tell anybody what you're making. I said, I won't, Weeb. I'm just as ashamed of it as you are.
When Joe Namath arrived in 1965, Maynard was the first to greet him.
Joseph, I always call him. I said, I'm going to make you a better quarterback, and you're going to make me a great receiver. But I said, we're going to talk on every play, every route ahead of time.
You don't think it has to be that much on the money?
No, I mean, I don't think you have to lead it to the sideline that much.
And we're going to have the timing down so good that you can throw them blindfolded and you'll never miss it.
The AFL's most feared tandem became Namath to Maynard. Namath and Maynard developed such a strong connection that when Ewbank tried to help, he often did more harm than good.
That'll bring the middle guard out of the middle, and he goes through there.
Slot, you mean double slot?
Double slot.
We would send in a couple of plays, you know, and Joe got both of them interception.
I'm sure they'll overshift.
All right, well, you are 19. I don't care.
No, 119.
119, I think would be good.
And I said, Joseph, I said, don't listen to him anymore. I said, you know, on game day, he needs to be home.
We just went with a check with me about 80% of the time, 75% of the time, and called plays in the huddle the other 20, 25% of the time, and then if they weren't where we thought they should be, we'd audibilize off.
As he called it, and I got the signal, if I didn't want it, well, then I gave him my signal. And we only had one busted play in 9 years, and that's the first game Joe played in.
In the 1968 season opener, Namath's bombs to Maynard torched one of the league's best defenses. The following week, the offensive onslaught continued. Through 2 weeks, Namath and the offense could do no wrong, but it wouldn't last. Namath's inconsistent play would return and threaten to ruin the Jets' season. The Jets' 1968 road to a championship hit a detour in Buffalo, a place that had special meaning for defensive end Jerry Philbin.
I went to the University of Buffalo, and I had a vendetta going against the Buffalo Bills because they didn't draft me out of college. They thought I was too small. I couldn't make it in the on their team. So I was always really, really up for the Buffalo Bills.
My roommate drives me to the airport. He's an ex-ball player. He says, Joe, gosh, you guys are 19 points favored. What do you think of that? I said, well, we got the best defense in the league. I don't know how they can score.
Namath threw 5 interceptions. 3 were returned for touchdowns, and the Jets suffered a stunning defeat.
Philbin's always got some great lines. And when we got ready to leave, Philbin stood up and said, Namath, this week we're wearing green.
Philbin's remark paled in comparison to the tongue-lashing Namath received on the flight home.
Walt Michaels, our defensive coordinator, sends for me to come up and sit down and talk to him. And I went up and I sat down with Walt, and I could feel the heat coming from that chair. He was seething. I mean, and he's no linebacker, you know. Walt was seething, and he explained to me that we had the best defense in the league, that Buffalo had a rookie quarterback. What in the heck were we doing offensively trying to do that? And you know what? I agreed with him. I agreed with everything he said. He was right.
The next week against San Diego, Namath chose a cautious approach that did not throw an interception. Still, the Jets trailed the Chargers by 4 with 5 minutes left. Namath marched the team to the Chargers 1, where the Jets faced 4th and goal.
Namath calls it, the crowd standing, and here's a handoff.
In the final minute, quarterback John Hadel drove the Chargers into field goal range. Instead of playing for the tie, San Diego tried to beat Johnny Sample deep for the win. Hadel, hurried by Philbin, rushed his throw. Sample intercepted, and the Jets won the game. The Jets appeared to be back on a winning track, but old habits die hard. 19-point favorites against Denver, Namath again threw 5 interceptions. In the final seconds, Namath had a chance to salvage a tie. loss dropped the Jets to 3-2.
We should have won this game handily. Joe Namath went out and had his worst game ever. Even after the game, he said that he stunk, and he did stink.
Namath had regressed, and defensive coordinator Walt Michaels was furious. Instead of again confronting Namath, Michaels met with the one player he knew could get Namath's attention, number 22, Jim Hudson. Hudson was Michaels' starting safety, but more importantly, he was Namath's best friend on the team.
The thing that changed, I think, our whole season, Walt Michaels went to Jim Hudson after that game and said, "You've got to talk to Joe. You got to tell him to take the pressure off himself, put it on the defense. We've got a great defense. Let the defense make the opponent make the mistakes." And you know something? Joe heeded that advice. We had a team for once. We had a team, and the momentum was really on the way.
Against the Oilers, the Jets trailed by 1 with less than 5 minutes to play. Namath drove the Jets 80 yards for the go-ahead touchdown. On the ensuing kickoff, Philpin's hit sealed the victory. In the next 3 games, the winning formula stuck. The AFL's #1 defense continued to force turnovers. Namath sacrificed for the good of the team. He threw for less than 200 yards and did not have a touchdown pass in 4 straight games. The Jets won all 4. The Jets were now 7-2, and the lesson was clear. What they needed to become champions was not just Namath's arm, but his head and his heart. In Week 10, Joe Namath faced the team that broke his cheekbone 1 year earlier, the Oakland Raiders.
There was a lot of anger on our team, and a lot of anger in the Oakland Raiders team. We just didn't like each other, I guess.
And Oakland, who was always thought of as the most penalized team, and they were, we went in there, and all of a sudden, we were the most penalized team.
The Jets were flagged 13 times, and safety Jim Hudson was ejected.
When he came out, he gave the sign to the whole stand at Oakland, both hands. He gave him the bird. Gee whiz, and here comes the paper cups and everything else.
The Jets continued to lose players. The best passing combination in the league made up for it. Joe Namath threw for a season-high 381 yards. Don Maynard had 228 yards receiving, a franchise record that still stands. With 65 seconds left, the Jets took the lead. What happened next will always be remembered as a landmark moment in the history of televised sports. Oakland went on offense as the clock struck 7 o'clock Eastern Time. NBC on the East Coast switched away from the game to show the movie Heidi. The Raiders then beat Hudson's replacement, Mike D'Amato, for the go-ahead score. On the ensuing kickoff, the Raiders scored again. 2 touchdowns in 9 seconds. The Jets had lost, and the coaches were furious.
The officials have their own room, and it was right next door to the visiting team's locker. Walt Michaels was accusing him of getting paid off by Al Davis, and so he was banging down the doors and just yelling all these crazy things.
But no one was angrier than Jets fans who saw this instead of this.
Lamonica to Charlie Smith. Smith is hitting, and he scores! What a game!
There were 10,000 phone calls of complaint to New York NBC alone. So many, the telephone switchboards blew out their fuses. NBC apologized for the error, but by then, Oakland had scored 2 touchdowns in the last minute, had beaten New York. The game was over. The fans who missed it could not be consoled.
The Jets would rebound from the defeat and would not lose another game for the rest of the season. The Jets closed out the 1968 season with 4 decisive wins. They finished 11-3 and won the AFL Eastern Division by 4 games. The writers named Joe Namath MVP of the offense and Jerry Philbin MVP of the defense. By the end of the season, the 2 honorees were able to laugh at matters that once divided them.
And Joe, again, our congratulations. And on behalf of the Metropolitan Football Writers, they are presenting this watch to you, which I know you will wear and take good care of and be on all team meetings on time because of.
The Jets' opponent in the AFL Championship game would be decided by a playoff between the 12-2 Raiders and the 12-2 Chiefs.
I dislike Oakland and Kansas City so much, I always hoped they'd play each other and kill each other off, you know.
It was a slaughter, but the only casualty was the Chiefs. Darryl LaMonica threw 5 touchdowns in a 41-6 thrashing.
Were you surprised that Oakland beat Kansas City as handily as they did?
Well, I sure was. That's the way I wanted it personally. I just as soon play Oakland.
I always felt that Oakland's defense wasn't quite as strong as Kansas City's defense, so I would rather, offensively speaking, play against Oakland. I hope this doesn't haunt me after the game Sunday. But I was a little worried about Oakland's powerful offense. If LaMonica's hot like he was against Kansas City, it could be a tough day for our defense. But we do have the best defense in the league, and if we play our game the way we've been playing all year long, offensively and defensively, I think we'll come out on top.
The Super Bowl, to me, was an easy game. The only pressure game I had was the AFL Championship. That's the game you got to win to get to the Super Bowl.
The weather for the championship game was foul. I mean, it was foul. The field was frozen and lumpy, and the wind was gusting to like 40 miles an hour. I mean, it was heavy wind.
The wind was one problem. The Raiders' defense was another. Some of the hits Namath took were legal, some weren't.
The first half was a rough half, physically.
Again, the Raiders had injured him. His finger was dislocated, and the constant pounding had taken a toll.
You get smelling salts, you snap back to, the rest of you feels all right, and if you can get back to the moment, then you go.
Namath again showed his trademark toughness and never missed a snap.
Namath back to pass on second down, throws for the end zone, touchdown for Maynard.
The Jets brought a 4-point lead into the fourth quarter. Namath called for Maynard to again run the square out to the sideline.
The wind was blowing unbelievable, and the wind caught it.
It is intercepted by Atkinson at the 30, down to the 25, the 20. He's down to the 10, the 5, and he is knocked out of bounds.
Joe's always been a football player, and he just didn't give a good tackle. Boy, I mean, he nailed the guy.
Namath was in pain, but failing to complete the pass to Maynard hurt even more.
Even when he crowds, it's good.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I forgot to tell you, I guess in the films it looked good.
Oh, well.
He's crowding because he's not looking at me.
For the first time in the game, the Raiders went ahead. Namath's interception had given away the lead. His best receiver knew how to get it back.
I said, Joe, I got a long one when you need it.
I told the team that I was going to call one play, but be alert for the audible that I'd go to if Maynard's situation presented itself. In other words, if the DB, Atkinson, climbed up in a bump and run.
Talking jump to him. You gotta get a score off, man.
We got up there, boy, and sure enough, Atkinson climbed up on Don. Check to the audible. Wonderful protection.
Namath dropping back to pass. He is looking, he is going to throw long for Don Maynard. And Maynard makes the catch down to the 10, and he is dumped out of bounds on the 8-yard line. A great over-the-shoulder catch, Don Maynard against George Atkinson.
It was the greatest catch I ever made, and don't run it back because I might miss it.
With the go-ahead score in reach, Namath showed his maturity as a quarterback by remaining patient.
Namath looking for the end zone, throwing, touchdown to Maynard. Joe Namath throwing to Don Maynard. He was not the intended original receiver.
Namath was looking to his left toward George Sauer. Had time to change, look completely across the field to Don Maynard.
I knew the Raiders as a ball club, they don't ever give up, and you got LaMonica behind the center, and here they come.
Defense, just keep it poised now. Keep it poised. Don't hit it late or anything. No penalties.
Six weeks after the Heidi game, the Raiders stood 12 yards away from another miracle comeback. But this time, the winds of fortune and of Shea Stadium were at the Jets' back.
2:20 to play. First and 10 of the New York 13. LaMonica back to pass, looking, throwing a swing pass behind. He threw the ball behind Charlie Smith. It's covered by the Jets. That was a lateral pass. It was not a forward pass.
We going to Super Bowl.
When Namath signed and underwent knee surgery, the Jets doctors gave him 4 years. 4 years was all it took. The Jets were AFL champions.
Never dreamed it would come this quick.
Absolutely. It's quick. 4 years.
You know, you think it's...
Took a long time coming. 4 years. You want to win every year, first year on.
Winning. Nothing else matters to me. Winning. Whether I catch 1 or 10. Nothing else matters.
Congratulations. Oh, you son of a gun, bro. Great guys, I'll tell you. We're going to get it. That's happy for you.
We celebrated like it was a Super Bowl afterwards. We were throwing champagne around like it was crazy. It was just unbelievable.
You know, your entire life as an athlete, you're wanting to win a championship, whatever level it's on. And here we were going for the world championship.
I said, well, men, we all going to get the loser's share. All you got to do is go out there and play a little extra and you can get the winner's share. And then there's always those guys that says, oh, I want that ring, I want that ring. And my comment, I care less about a ring, I want the $15,000.
The first 2 Super Bowls were won by the NFL's Green Bay Packers. They overwhelmed their AFL opponent and validated the perceived superiority of their league. The NFL representative in Super Bowl III was expected to do the same. Odds makers had the Baltimore Colts as anywhere from 17 to 22-point favorites. Some were calling the Colts the greatest team ever assembled. They outscored their opponents by more than 18 points per game, still a record in the Super Bowl era. Johnny Unitas was injured, but in his absence, quarterback Earl Morrall won the league MVP. Morrall's favorite receiver, John Mackey, was one of the best tight ends ever to play the game. In the NFL championship game at Cleveland, the Colts humiliated the only team all year to beat them. None of this impressed Joe Namath.
I think Monica throws better than Morrall.
Namath would list 5 AFL quarterbacks he thought were better than the NFL's reigning MVP. Then, at the Miami Touchdown Club, he would say the words that will forever live in pro football lore.
So it was my turn to get up, and I got up to the podium, and about the time I'm getting ready to talk, a guy in the back of the room, "Hey, Namath, we're gonna kick your..." You know what? I said, whoa, wait a minute. You guys been talking for 2 weeks now, meaning the Colts fans and the media. So you guys been talking for 2 weeks now. I said, I'm tired of hearing it. I said, I got news for you. We're gonna win the game, I guarantee you. It was not planned, it wasn't premeditated, it was just anger and frustration, and I really believed we were gonna win the game.
When he said that I guarantee you stuff, Eubank nearly fainted. That's the last thing you wanted, was to wake them up. He liked them complacent and overconfident, and then now his quarterback is giving him something to be annoyed about.
I didn't realize I had even said it, first of all. You know, there was a wise guy in the back of the room that started this business, and I just told him what I felt. You know, we're going to win the game, I guarantee you. One guy picked up on it, I believe, and that was Edwin Pope from the Miami Herald. And I didn't know about it till the next day when Coach Eubank said, we got to have a meeting. And I apologized to Coach Eubank and everything, and then turned it around, kind of. I said, but Coach, you know, it's your fault. We said, what? What do you mean? I said, well, gee whiz, Coach, you've given us all this confidence. You know, you're telling us we're going to win. I mean, I believe you. We're going to win this game.
Namath believed in his team, and his conviction was contagious. Even one of his harshest critics was convinced Namath would lead the Jets to victory.
When he guaranteed that, he meant it. And you know, that really meant something to me as a player, and to the defense, and to the offense. You got a quarterback that's this tough. He can back up what he says with the football. Believe me, he can back it up.
Going back and forth, the offense and defensive guys kind of talk, how's things going, says, well, we're going to score good, we're going to be all right, we're going to be balanced. And the defensive guy said, well, we're going to intercept four passes. I said, well, that's great, that'll help out.
Moments before kickoff, the only voices Namath heard were the ones inside his head.
You try to keep yourself focused and think of your job, but when we were getting ready to walk out as captains for the coin flip, I looked across the field, and I saw Johnny, and I saw those uniforms. I kind of, for the first time, separated myself from right there and just looked and went back home to Beaver Falls and just had all these flashes about yesteryear and where we were right then. This is it. This was it.
NBC Sports presents the third AFL NFL World Championship game, the Super Bowl. The American Football League champions, the New York Jets, versus the National Football League champions, the Baltimore Colts. From the Orange Bowl in Miami, Florida, the city of Miami hosts for this Super Bowl game, and a wonderful host it's been. The temperature right now is 72 degrees. The wind is going to be a factor here. It's gusty now, 15 miles an hour, and we have a 20% chance of rain. It rained last night hard for several hours. The field was covered, though, and appears to be in very good shape. And they could have sold 150,000 tickets for this game. Tickets have never been more scarce than they were here in Miami for the third Super Bowl game. I'm Kurt Gowdy. I'm going to call the play-by-play for you. Analyzing the game will be Kyle Rote and Al DeRogatis. They were both National Football League stars, and also they followed the AFL this season on television on NBC, so they know both leagues very well. Also, Jim Simpson is going to be with us, and he'll be roaming the field for some interesting interviews. Well, you've all read and heard all kinds of pregame dope during the week. I think one big sidelight has been Joe Namath. Joe Namath, of course, is the man that the Colts have to stop. If Namath has a good day, the Jets are usually good. If he doesn't, they have trouble. But Namath has not been bashful this week. He's come down here to Miami, and he has said that the Jets are going to win. He doesn't even predict it. He says, I guarantee a Jet victory. He has downgraded the opponent, the quarterback, Earl Morrall. And this is supposed to now give Baltimore even more of an incentive, and they say that it has added maybe a 2-touchdown edge to the Colts. We'll see how it all comes out. Joe Namath has been on a spot, but he's even more on a spot now.
Well, thank you, Kurt. And, of course, now time to meet the members of the New York Jets, the champions of the American Football League. For the New York Jets, the 1968 season was one in which, for, I think, the first time in the team's 9-year history, all of the pieces fell into place. The defensive unit, #1 in the league. Jerry Philbin, one of the best pass rushers in the business. John Elliott, the young defensive right tackle, having a tremendous season. Jim Hudson heading up a strong pass defense. And young Carl McAdams giving great depth, not only on the line, but at the linebacker spot. And offensively, the line gave Joe Namath great protection all season long. The 3 deep receivers got through the season relatively injury-free. And there were 2 preseason trades that worked out beautifully. Offensive guard Bob Talamini coming from the Houston Oilers to give them great flexibility in that front line. And Babe Pirelli coming from Boston to give the team an extremely capable and experienced backup man to quarterback Joe Namath. And, of course, Joe Namath himself. Controversial, exciting, but above all, a most talented ball player, a great passer, on whose right arm will be riding the hopes not only of the New York Jets today, but as well the hopes of the entire AFL. And the man who put it all together, head coach of the New York Jets, Weeb Ewbank. Weeb Ewbank, the only man in pro football history to win championships, not only in the National Football League, but in the American Football League as well. And, of course, going for his first Super Bowl championship.
And now as the Baltimore Colts, thank you, Kurt, as the Baltimore Colts come onto the football field, this is a team that in 1968 had one theme, and that was all the way in 68, and they've got one more to go, and you know they're going to be trying their very best. 1967, everyone knows they won all but one big game right at the end, losing a heartbreaker to the Rams. The interesting thing is that in this great classic, the great John Unitas will not be starting, but John is ready, and no one will be too surprised if John gets into the football game. The tremendous story is obviously the story of the Cinderella man, Earl Morrall, and Earl has done just a great job, and those fans around the country that admire the man must be awfully happy for Earl. The interesting thing is that Earl went to the Baltimore Colts as part of a trade for a second-string quarterback, Jim Ward, and now it's Don Shula coming on to the football field, a man that done such an outstanding job.
Let's see if Preston Pearson gets the tackle. He's down there about 8 out of 10 times for the Colts. A high kick, a beauty, tumbling to Christie, a yard deep. He's to the 10, 15, and over the 20 goes to the 22-yard line. And it was Jerry Logan who went down to make the tackle for the Baltimore Colts. So it's New York's ball now. First down on their own 22. Namath, number 12, will be the quarterback. Boozer, 32, is the left half. Snell, 41, is the fullback. Maynard is the flanker, number 13. Sauer will be the split end. And Pete Lammons the tight end.
Far side, the top of your picture, a double wing. They were going to run to the weak side.
And there's the rest of the Jet lineup. With Hill and Herman the tackle, Talamini, Rasmussen the guard, and Schmidt the center. Second down, 6. The Jets on their own 26. Long signal count. Snell again, bursting through. Snell runs it to the 34 and a first down for the New York Jets. And here's Namath for his first pass on the run to Snell. Snell is just short of the 40. And look for the Jets today, I think, to run those backs out of the backfield against the zone defense. Boozer and Snell the setback. Here's the draw to Snell, and Baltimore snelled that one out. Fred Miller, 76, the defensive right tackle, stopping Snell. And now Tim Brown is going to go back. He is a second-string punt returner, usually down now. As we'll watch Baltimore go to the attack for the first time. With Earl Morrall at quarterback, he'd be number 15. Tom Matty, left halfback, 41. Jerry Hill, 45, the fullback. Willie Richardson, 87, the flanker. Mackey is the tight end, 88. He's the man to really watch here today. Jimmy Orr, the split end, number 28. Now they split that backfield. Mackey's at left tight end. Morrow's going to the air, and right away he dumps it off to the 25. To the 30 is Mackey. Mackey's almost impossible to bring down by one man or two, and he just throws them off like flies.
Drop back. It really wasn't a screen. He was just there as kind of a safety valve. Now watch this former Syracuse great show you that he still knows how to really run with that football. Good run by Big John.
In the backfield and shifted out of there. Here's the pitch to Matty. Matty roaring to the 50 and into Jet territory. And in 2 plays, the Colts have come from their 27 to the New York Jet 44. Under 10 minutes to play in the first period. This is Jerry Hill. Hill slips away to the 40 and is down on the 37. And the shot at him was by Verlin Biggs. He missed him behind the line of scrimmage, and Jim Hudson, the strong safety, had to make the stop. So now the ball's on the New York Jet 37. That's a gain of 7. And right now, Baltimore looks overpowering on offense. Once again, that same setup. Matty, the lone setback. Morrow, time again, throws the same pattern and completes it to the 19-yard line. They blew the whistle, though. That was Tom Mitchell, the tight end, number 84. Morrow is rushed again, squirms away, and is spun down on the 18. In there on him was the linebacker who blitzed, Larry Grantham, also Verlin Biggs, 86. And Morrow, who's not supposed to be much of a scrambler, really shook himself loose that time, or he would have been tackled 6 or 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Now it's the field goal team on for Baltimore as the Jets stopped him. 4th down 9. Lou Michaels, a left-footed kicker. Boyd will hold. Michaels kicked 18 out of 28 this year. His kick is up, and it is no good. It is no good off to the right. And the Colts, who drove from the 27, were stopped on the Jet 18 and failed to score in the field goal. Action will continue here at the Super Bowl. The score, the Baltimore Colts nothing and the New York Jets nothing. The slot right. Namath again. Plenty of time. It's the Lamons. Not much. Down on his 22. Hit there immediately by Miller, the tackle, who dropped back. 3rd and 8. The Jets in their 22. Namath's pass is complete for a first down to Mathis on the 35-yard line of the Jets. Mathis, a very excellent pass receiver for a halfback. 3:56 to play in the first period. Fake Turner's now in, and it goes out to the 41. George Sauer, the split end, running a quick little slant in right then. 3rd down, 4 to go. The Jets in their 41. Namath overthrows Sauer that time. I believe he dumped it over his head. He was afraid of an interception there. So it's now 4th and 4, and the Jets again will be going into a punt formation. End over end. Brown handles it on his 21. Trying to get some blocking. Gets outside now. He's got the peel blocking. Matt Snell hit him. Matt Snell, 41, had to bring him down, and they set it up for Brown, peeling back and setting up that wall of blockers on the far side. Set back is Hill. Matty's in the slot left now. They like to isolate him on a linebacker. Here's a deep pass intended for Richardson. They battle for that ball, and Sample bats it away. Richardson is much like Otis Taylor in the American Football League, a big flanker who usually comes down with the ball when 2 or 3 men are battling him with it. That time, Sample fought him for it, and it's an incomplete pass. 4th down, and Baltimore's been stopped. Lee gets the ball away a little slowly sometimes. And that one's away, and it's a high, short kick. Going to let it bounce. It takes a Baltimore hop, and New York's going to be in a hole. And he got a great bounce and a very mediocre kick. Hilton, linebacker, down there to down it. And so action will continue here at the Super Bowl. The score, Baltimore nothing and New York nothing. He's going to throw. It's to Sauer. Sauer is hit. A fumble, and Baltimore recovers. Baltimore recovers, and hitting him was Lenny Lyles that jarred the ball loose, and on the ball was number 55, Ron Porter of Idaho. They had the first down, the Jets did. as they drove out from their 3, but Sauer couldn't hold on to it, and so the Colts get the first turnover of the game, and the bounce they got on the punt had put the Jets in the hole. First down for Baltimore on the Jets 12. There's the gun. That's the end of the first quarter in the 1969 Super Bowl game with the score. Baltimore Colts nothing, and the New York Jets nothing. First big break after a completed pass that the Jets had a first down. As Jerry Hill goes over to the wingback. The pitch is to Matty. Matty to the 10 and runs to the 6. Well, they have called him the garbage man in the NFL because he seems to pick up 4, 5, 6 yards at a time and doesn't look like he's doing it. But boy, he can smell that goal line. Third down. 3 to go. The Colts on the New York Jets 6. Mitchell, the tight end, is in now. 2 tight ends in there. Jimmy Orr's gone out. Slot left. Morrow's going to throw, and it is intercepted. The Jets intercept. Randy Beverly. The ball was right in the hands of Tom Mitchell. Popped out of his hand, and it's a touchback.
Here's that play again. You see Morrow firing for Tom Mitchell, 84. There's the ball. Great reaction by Randy Beverly. Beverly coming back and saving at least 3 points, possibly a touchdown.
3rd and 2. Snell trying to turn. He's got the first down. Matt Snell's out on the 33. He was the leading ground gainer for the Jets this year. Lenny Lyles had to bump him out, and so the Jets pick up their 3rd first down. And the ball doesn't mean that's what they're going to be doing a second or 2 later. Here's a draw to Snell. Snell to the 35. Stays inbound and is out on his 46. Lenny Lyles came over to draw him out. And Matt Snell, who's made a comeback from a knee operation a year ago, had his best year this year since he was Rookie of the Year 5 years ago. To the left. Here's a blitz on. He dumps it off to Mathis to the 45. Mathis into Baltimore territory and out of bounds on the Baltimore 48. Gobbets calls all the defensive signals. 3rd and 4. Namath fires. It's complete. Right on a line as he hits George Sauer, who went down and then curled back. And from behind, Lenny Lyles hit him.
And there's that play again. Sauer, all sorts of moves going downfield. And what makes Namath so dangerous is that ability to be able to throw off balance. A lot of quarterbacks are afraid to fire that ball that deep when they're not set. Namath backpedaling can fire that ball 35, 40 yards on a line. That's the type of pass it takes.
Here's a quick one. And nearly grabbed off by Lyles, but Sauer is taken out of bounds on the 23. Lyles gambled on him, and finally Rick Volk was back in the game. 2nd down, 7. Here it is, out to Snell, to the 15, to the 10. First down, a fumble. And let's see. Ball's down on the 9. 1st and goal at all. You're seeing Baltimore put the heavy blitz on Namath, and as soon as he reads that, he dumps the ball out to his back, flaring to the side.
Exactly right, Kurt. He not only reads the blitz so well, but he's playing that zone just perfectly. He's seeing those linebackers take away the short zone, so he circles his back.
Namath, red hot, 9 out of 13. 9:45 to play, there's no score. The Jets have stopped Baltimore twice deep. That Snell's been the outstanding runner so far. He has gained nearly 50 yards already here in the first half, and he carries it to the Baltimore 4, and Billy Ray Smith, the left tackle, brought him down. And he may go! He's in there! Snell scores!
Here's that play again. Namath taking that ball from center. That slant play Al was talking about. And look at that blocking along the line. Great blocking. Winston Hill, Bob Talamini. Number 53, Dennis Gorbass, a little late on the tackle.
80 yards, 11 plays. The drive engineered by Namath. New York had the ball over 5 minutes in that drive. So the Jets score first. They're anywhere from 18 to 22-point underdog. More than the college All-Stars were against the Packers last August. Borelli will hold. Jim Turner hasn't missed a point this year. He boots it. Timeout. Action will continue here at the Super Bowl. The score, The New York Jets 7 and the Baltimore Colts nothing. Well, they were giving odds the Jets wouldn't score on the Colts, who shut out 4 teams in NFL this year. And the Jets have just gone 80 yards. Matt Snell scoring the touchdown. He has now picked up 53 yards in the first half. And Namath has hit 9 out of 13. Or near side, Richardson far side. And it's to Matty. Matty slips away. And Matty is out of bounds. Out of bounds on the New York 42-yard line. Jim Hudson had to finally drive him out.
We're going to go with slow motion, the end zone. The reason he goes, you see number 60 hitting up in there, Grantham. He calls an automatic against Grantham, flips it out to 41, Matty. Tom makes a good move. Looks like he's going to get all the way. This is a real football player.
New York ahead, 7-0. There's a quick one, and it's to Mackey. He can't hold on to it. It's an incomplete pass. Incomplete pass. It's an incomplete pass.
12 minutes.
And his kick is up. And this one is no good. To the right. That's 2 that Michaels has missed. So action will continue here at the Super Bowl. The score is the New York Jets 7 and the Baltimore Colts nothing. The Jets on their 21, they're ahead 7-0. Namath firing. A great grab by Sauer. First a pump fake to fool Lyles, and then Sauer making a spectacular catch, and the Jets have the ball.
And there it is again, Namath reading that all-out blitz just perfectly. There you saw the safety man, Rick Volk, come in. And what a great catch by George Sauer. And here's Sauer all alone, that little inside move, and then just out running Lyles. Lyles, number 43.
5:48 to play in the first half. Matt Snell over the 40, inside the 35, and to the 33, and Snell has been by far the outstanding runner of the ball game.
Not only that, he's getting
32. He's hit, scrambles away, and he tried to fight for field position for a field goal, trying to get that ball in the middle of the field. That's the first time they've got to him in the first half. Don Shinnick got to him first, and then Dennis Gobbets, the middle linebacker. And now the field goal team is on. Jim Turner, who set an all-time pro record, kicking 34 field goals this year out of 46 attempts. And he'll probably boot this one from about the 40-yard line. Remember, there's a tricky crosswind blowing here today, 20 miles an hour. Babe Perilli's going to spot this one on the 41. 41-yard field goal attempt. Probably aimed to the left, to his left. The wind's coming from the far sideline to our sideline. His kick is up, and it is no good. It is to the left, so the field goal kicker's having trouble with his crosswind today. Action will continue here at the Super Bowl. The score is the New York Jets 7 and the Baltimore Colts nothing. Don Shula has the best record in pro football the last 6 years. 63 wins, 18 losses, and 1 tie. His team comes into this game with 10 consecutive victories. Morrill now with first down to the sideline and complete to Willie Richardson out on his 26.5, bumped out by John Sample, 24, the left cornerback, who's playing against his old teammates. Well, second down 4, Baltimore on their 26. Tom Matty cutting back and breaking away. He may be caught from behind. And Billy Baird finally wrestles him down. That's Matty's longest run of the season. And some unhappiness now. Matty and Johnny Sample. That's Matty's longest run from scrimmage.
Here it is again. Now, Glenn Wrestley, you'll see him pulling out. Number 62 makes a big block right there. Matty goes outside of him. Hudson misses the tackle. Tom Matty turning on good speed. You don't see Bill Baird, but he'll be coming into the picture. The pursuit is there. He tried to cut back. Great run by Tom Matty.
Second down 9, Baltimore on the Jet 15. Morrill, slant, intercepted. Intercepted by Johnny Sample. That's the second interception for him. And he hands it over to Willie Richardson.
And there's Sample working on Willie Richardson, or rather trying to cover against him. You'll see him cut inside of him. And actually, after he caught that ball, he would have been able to get up and run, and that's what number 62, Al Atkinson, was talking to him about as he was laying there on the ground.
All right, the Jets now on their own 2-yard line with a first down. Baltimore was not held scoreless, by the way, in the first half of any game they played this year. They're the only pro team to ever win 15 games in a season, the only NFL team. And right now, they're trailing 7-0 with 1:12 to go, and Boozer goes to the sideline. Here's the draw to Snell. He is stopped cold, hit there by Don Shinnick, the veteran right linebacker. And so the Jets now are forced into a punt formation. Nice kick. Tim Brown on the Jet 46. Running around, using up some time as he's doing this, and he's hauled down on the Jet 42. The clock stops with 45 seconds to play in the first half. Second down and 9. Tom Matty can throw a pass back to Morrow. All alone is Jimmy Orr, but they hit down the middle to Matty, intercepted by Jim Hudson. The third interception for New York. The third interception for New York, and Baltimore trying a trick play. They had Jimmy Orr all alone, and they didn't see him.
In slow motion, Kyle, we see it wide right open. A very smart play. Earl is in great spot. He completely loses Jimmy Orr, as Kurt Gowdy described, and there comes Hudson. Perfect position to pick it off. That was a tremendous play, Kurt.
Orr could have walked in. All he had to do was lie. He was wide open at the 10-yard line. Nobody within 15 yards of him, Kyle.
There really wasn't. He was just so wide open. And they saved a scoreless first half.
That's the first time Baltimore has been shut out in the first half this year. So everybody was talking about New York being unable to score, and it's been the other way around. Well, you never know about sports. Let's go down to the sideline now to Jim Simpson and a special guest.
And our special guest is the nation's #1 comedian and turning out Bob Hope to be the #1 sports fan. We see it at the World Series and now again at the Super Bowl.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm really shocked by this game today. These Jets are doing something today, aren't they? Huh?
They sure are. What about the New York Jets? Now, I understand that you came in here as a Baltimore supporter. Are you changing your mind?
Well, actually, I think that the Jets forgot to read the papers. Huh? Man, I want to tell you, they're rough, and these Ohio guys are doing it. Snell is, so far, is a star, and Ohio, Matty, you know, is out there. He's doing great.
Both Ohio State boys.
Oh, they're rough.
I understand, Bob Hope, that you're a big man with weddings.
Yes, sir. Last night we had the wedding. We flew down here with Ted Agnew and Governor Rhodes, and this is a thrilling game, Jim. I'll tell you that.
Well, Bob Hope, thank you very much. We look ahead not only to the second half of the Super Bowl, but your tournament in February, and, of course, your specialist Thursday.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Jim. We'll see you down the desert.
Thank you, Bob Hope, very much.
Thank you very much.
Now let's go back upstairs.
And also Mark Smolinski. There are the stats in the first half. The Jets hold the edge in first down, 10-6. Baltimore rushing 92-70. The Jets hold the edge in passing. The Jets, Namath hit 10 out of 16. Morrow 5 out of 15. The Jets intercepted 3 of Morrow's passes. Jets ran the most plays, 36-28 for Baltimore. Now let's see what Baltimore does. Morrow gives the ball to Matty, and Matty fumbles, and it's a New York recovery. Ralph Baker. Berlin Biggs hit him and jarred it loose. And there on the ball is Ralph Baker, number 51, the left linebacker. And the Jets get a break here on the opening play of the second half. Biggs really came over from right in. Great pursuit by Berlin Biggs.
Tremendous pursuit, Kurt. These Jets have come to play. There was a great block at the line of scrimmage by Wrestler. Matty cuts behind it, and then came the fumble.
And Kurt, it may or may not be significant, but down on the sideline right now, warming up for Baltimore, number 19, Johnny Unitas. This may mean that we'll be seeing Unitas in the second half.
Fullback, they converted him to linebacker. And there's Johnny Unitas, who's had torn muscles, a muscle tear in his right elbow all year, but has been coming along. And he may be in here. The Colts have not scored today, and we may see a change. Second down. Namath to Snell. Snell barrels Bobby Boyd over and then is dropped at the 14-yard line. Mike Curtis hit him from behind after Snell knocked Boyd 40 down. And it'll be number 31. Namath is hit and dropped back in the 25. Bubba Smith, who's played in only 2 losing games in the last 4 years.
Kurt, we're gonna show you this in slow motion now. Dave Herman has good position. Bubba talked about this a little earlier. There's Dave hitting him, trying to take him wide, but the big drop of Joe Namath is what makes the play for Bubba. Good play for number 78, Bubba Smith.
His pass is, oh, out in the open was Jerry Logan. He had the open field in front of him. Jerry Logan in front of Pete Lammons, and Logan could have gone all the way. And the Colts have had trouble hanging onto the ball today. Mackey's 32-yard field goal attempt by Jim Turner, Babe Parilli holding. Turner missed one earlier. Once again, we'll bring up, it's a tricky crosswind today. His kick is up, and this kick is good by Jim Turner. Action will continue here at the Super Bowl. The score is the New York Jets 10 and the Baltimore Colts nothing. BC. Morrow running away, and he's hit by Jim Hudson, who came up from safety number 22 to nail him, and Carl McAdams, number 50, the former Oklahoma All-American who fractured his ankle 3 years ago. Hudson is one of the hardest tackling safety men in the league. Now we're going to have a punt formation as the Jets have stopped Baltimore. It's 4th down 11. David Lee will do the punting. There's Johnny Unitas, and you might see him in here the next time Baltimore gets the ball. Boozer and Mathis now in the backfield. Namath out to Mathis. Mathis is out of bounds on the Jet 34. Mike Curtis, the linebacker, drove him out. Spread left. And 2nd down. Namath has the time, shoots the pass and completes it. George Sauer has a 1st down on the Jet 47. How that Namath can rifle that ball.
Here's Sauer all alone, working on Lenny Lyle's 43. He'll give a good outside move, then right back into that little slot. George Sauer, and as Kurt said, Namath can fire that ball. That was about a 20-yard pass, 25-yard pass, just like a bullet.
With the New York Jets, the most valuable player in today's game, selected by Sport Magazine, will be given the hot Dodge Charger RT. And I know that most valuable player will appreciate it. Great car. 3rd down 7. Namath a quickie to Pete Lammons. Lammons to the Baltimore 38. And it's another New York Jet 1st down.
Here's that play again, Namath. You see Gorbat's moving around, jumping around. Right over the middle to Lammons, number 87. And also, not only are the Jets having to fathom the manipulations in that secondary, but also in that defensive line of Baltimore. They're looping, they're crossing, they're doing all sorts of stunts out there in the flat looking to pick something like that off.
2nd down 10. Namath again. Nice protection. It's complete to Snell. 1st down as Namath is picking the bonded Baltimore secondary to pieces right now.
Boy, and again, you see where Namath can just fire going back. Watch, he's going back, and he'll throw that ball without hardly setting up at all. See, he's still leaning backwards, fires that ball just on a line.
1st down, the New York Jets on the Baltimore 24. Our left, Maynard right. Retreating deeper. He's firing to the end zone to Maynard. Maynard is no good. He caught the ball, but he was over the end line. With him was Jerry Logan, number 20. Spectacular grab, but out of bounds. It'll now be 3rd and 9. Namath, by the way, has tied. Namath is going over and seems to be injured. Namath is injured now, and what a turning point that could be in this game. It seems to be his right hand, and Babe Parilli's come in for him. Namath has tied a Super Bowl record of 16 completions in a game, tied Lenny Dawson's record. 3rd down 9 on the 24. Babe Parilli, 15-year veteran, is now in. It throws a quick one. It's incomplete. A quick slant to George Sauer. 4th and 9, and we'll see the field goal team come in. And the big question now is Joe Namath. He has played a spectacular game here. He has run his offense beautifully. He's read the blitzes today. It's his right hand, his passing hand. and Weeb Eubank following him down the sideline. Bay Perilli will hold now on the 30-yard line of Baltimore. Jim Turner will try a field goal. The kick is good by Jim Turner. Turner, who kicked more field goals than any player in one season in pro history, boots his second of the game. Timeout. Action will continue here at the Super Bowl. The score, the Jets 13 and Baltimore nothing. Took some warm-up tosses and now is on the phone upstairs to one of his coaches talking over the Baltimore defense. We'll see whether he comes back in. Baltimore first down, and Unitas is going in the game now. And it's ironical that the young fellow, Namath, went out with an injury, and Unitas gets almost a standing ovation here, which he should. One of the greatest players in the history of pro football.
Kurt, not only that, this is really the series that the New York Jets have got to come on because of the inspirational leadership of John Unitas. He was brilliant in the past, he still has it, and this man can really move a football team.
3rd and 5. Unitas. Incomplete, intended for Jimmy Orr, and the ball wobbled out there to him. That wasn't a typical Unitas pass, as Kyle wrote, who played against him, will attest.
No, I think what John got in a little bit of trouble there.
The injury is to Namath's right thumb, sprained right thumb, but he is expected to come back in. New York Jet bench, Verlin Biggs closest to you. Namath has a sprained right thumb. We'll see how it affects him. He's been superb throughout this game. 3rd and 7 for New York on their own 40. Hilton's now in at defensive right end. And a quick slant. Sauer fumbles. And I believe they might have blown the whistle. Inside the 50, George Sauer running a quick slant pattern. And it is still New York's ball. And it's a New York first down and a big one.
And there was a real gamble by Namath. He called that slant play from a quick count. So he
down. They now have 16 first downs to 6 for Baltimore. Deep retreat. The long shot to Sauer. He's got it. And Sauer is on the 9-yard line. He had the inside step on Lenny Lyles again.
Here he is again with that great arm just right inside. Sauer had put a move on Lyles. And here he is all alone. Sauer going down. That little slow move, change of pace. He really put it on right at that point. Lyles waiting for him to make another move. Beaten by a step or two.
Sauer has now caught 9 passes in this game for 147 yards. And what a job this interior line tackle-to-tackle is doing for Namath. Making the tackle. We're nearing the end of the 3rd period, and the 3rd period has been all the Jets. They completely outplayed Baltimore in the 3rd quarter. That's the end of the 3rd quarter in the 1969 Super Bowl game with a score, the New York Jets 13 and the Baltimore Colts nothing. Baltimore did not get a first down in the 3rd period. New York had the ball about 75% of the time. Baltimore did not cross the 50-yard line.
Kurt, it's really amazing when you see it, but you know, it's been an interesting defensive change also. Ordell Bracey and Don Shinnick have both been out in most of that march. Roy Hilton, number 85, is at right defensive end.
Talking it over with Namath, the offensive captain of the Jets. The Jets made him offensive captain this year to give him some responsibility half the distance to the goal, and he took it this year. He matured. 3rd and 3 to go for a New York Jet touchdown on the Baltimore 3. Slams it to Billy Mathis, and he can't make it. Did you see Namath slam that ball into his belly as he started out? He wanted to be sure that on that handoff there'd be no fumbles. And now the field goal team is coming on. Dennis Gobatz, the middle linebacker, made that stop on the 2. 4th and 2 for a Jet touchdown. And Jim Turner, who's kicked 2 field goals in the game, now will have a short one, but from an angle on the near side. And when you're closer to that goalpost, it's a little tougher. They'd rather be farther back. We thank you. Perilli will spot it on the 9. There's your kick, and it is good. Jim Turner has kicked his 3rd field goal of the game. And action will continue here at the Super Bowl. The score, the New York Jets 16 and the Baltimore Colts nothing. Jim Turner, who has kicked 34 field goals and 3 in this game, credits Babe Pirelli. Notice how Pirelli spots that ball with the laces forward for him. Pirelli is very sure it's placing the ball, and Turner gives Pirelli a lot of credit for his field goal success. Curly Johnson kicking off, and he booms it deep. Preston Pearson fumbles it around and is going to have to run it out. He gets to the 5. Look out! And he makes a great run. He turned what looked like a disaster into a 32-yard kickoff return.
And there the
Unitas has replaced Morrill here late in the third quarter. Matty running a sweep. Breaks through and is met by Al Atkinson, a very underrated middle linebacker. That's Baltimore's first down of the second half. They're on their 38. They're trailing 16-0. The sideline pattern to Willie Richardson. They say he caught it. Look out here. Johnny Sample going into the Baltimore bench, and somebody took a shot at him there. And Sample was pointing to number 84, Tom Mitchell, as if to say, look, I'll be seeing you after the ball game. Sample, who was questioned about being in this game as a cornerback, has played brilliantly. 11:57 to play. The Jets ahead 16-0. Unitas to Matty. Matty following Sullivan. Matty running beautifully. Gets it into New York territory at the New York 37. Tom Matty, one of the most valuable and versatile men in pro football. And he's picked up big yardage today. In the opening. Unitas is moving the club. 81, I think, is offside. Philbin, I believe, jumped. Jerry Philbin beat the snap. The ball's on the 26-yard line where Jerry Hill carried it. And I think they'll call this against Philbin of the Jets. Willie Richardson to the right, and Matty's in the slot. Here's Unitas. And it is intercepted. Randy Beverly downs it. That's the 4th interception by the Jets in the game. Beverly's intercepted, too.
Here's that play again. Working on Orr, and you'll see Beverly, number 42, stepping just inside. Here he is all alone. Beverly covering. See Jimmy Orr giving him all sorts of moves. Beverly coming in just inside.
Kyle, we had hard feelings. We had a fight between Matty and Sample, which you didn't see. Beverly intercepted. And the Jets now have intercepted 4 Baltimore passes. And the Jets take over on the 20. And they have still shut out the mighty Colts. We may be sitting in one of sports' greatest upsets in history.
And a very big play coming up with just 10 minutes to go. This is the last quarter of this football game. If they get the first down, Kurt, you could figure the Jets will eat up a minimum of 2 more minutes in that next series.
Baltimore needs 2 touchdowns and a field goal now. Here's a quick pitch to Boozer. They spring him, and he has the first down. It looks like he just went across the 30, and he was hit there by Dennis Garbat, and also by 85 Roy Hilton, the right end. Boozer gets the Jets a big first down. And 9 minutes to play. New York leading Baltimore 16-0. The shutout has gone the other way so far. Matt Snell. And that second effort turns him loose to the 40. And there's a flag down and a kicking. Maybe called a number 85, Roy Hilton. Let's see. They dropped the flag. There's some hard feelings going on now in this game. Johnny Sample's sort of been the boy that has stirred it up. Well, let's see what this one's about.
And, of course, this hard feeling has been building up down here, as you know, Kurt, for the last 10 days since both clubs have come into their training camps. Statements being printed by one side or the other as to what's going to happen to the other side. And, of course, at this point, it looks like the Jets refused to believe that they were 17, 18, 19-point underdogs, whatever it ended up being.
Billy Ray Smith. Straight ahead, they open that hole again. And this interior line of the Jets has really played them some ball game today.
Kurt Galley, they've been absolutely tremendous. They were beating them to the weak side. Now Joe Namath comes with a slash, as Kyle called it, right up the middle. He's going with the long counts. He's going to consume as much time as possible, and these, Kurt, are the agonizing moments for the Baltimore Colts defense.
Former Ohio State star Matt Snell gets a tremendous hand. He has gained 100 yards in this game against the Colts. Many thought the Jets wouldn't get 50 as a team. Snell alone has 100. Long huddles, long signal counts. Don Shula looking up at the clock. Shula said, if we lose this game, every great thing we've done is out the window. We've had 15 victories, won an NFL championship, and the whole season is ruined if we get beat by the AFL underdog. And they're going to have to put on a big rally. Mathis is stopped at the 35 by Lou Michaels, number 79. Michaels and Namath had a near fight during the week, then they patched up. When Namath told Michaels, we're going to beat you. Namath has been popping off all week about it, and so far he's backed up his word, the way old Diz Dean used to do it. All right, here's a 42-yard field goal attempt by Jim Turner, who's already kicked 3 in the game. Babe Pirelli holding. And the kick is no good. It was to the left. It faded. It was a line drive that faded. Timeout. Action will continue here at the Super Bowl. The score, the New York Jets 16, the Baltimore Colts nothing. Bogle comes out of tackle, and going in is John Williams. The Colts were last shut out in 1965 by the Bears. Unitas now 6 out of 15. 2nd and 10. The Colts on the 16. Great catch by Jimmy Orr. And a marker goes down, and they're going to call that on Al Atkinson.
Here's Orr all along. Watch Beverly making the drop. Concerned about the deep pattern. No sensational move by Jim Orr. Just a simple move, curled in. Now watch Al Atkinson come.
There he is, number 62, and the flag dropped on him. Half the distance to the goal. Mitchell now comes in at tight end. Baltimore on the Jet 2-yard line. 1st and goal to go. 3rd down and a half yard to go. They've had 2 pops to that goal line. Haven't got it over. They give it to Hill, and he goes over. And Baltimore finally gets on the scoreboard with 3:19 to play. Jerry Hill going over from a half yard out. Now can the Jets hold? Baltimore may try an onside kick. They'll try anything to get the ball back. Jerry Hill going over. Baltimore was shut out until 3 minutes and 19 seconds left in this game. The 2-point option is not in effect in this game. The kick is up, and it is good. Lou Michaels boots it. Bobby Boyd was holding. So now it's 16-7. The Jets leading. We'll be in the both locker rooms after the game. Let's see what they do now. The Colts are desperate. They're trailing 16-7, and just over 3 minutes left to play. Unitas took them 80 yards in that drive. And they try it. Look out. Baltimore has the ball. Baltimore has it. Tom Mitchell fell on it. Everybody in the stadium knew. Number 84 fell on it. Michaels. Everybody in the stadium knew it was going to be an onside kick. And Baltimore recovered it. There's Mitchell. Tom Mitchell from Bucknell, who was released from the AFL and picked up by the Colts. So now it's a 1st down for Baltimore on the New York 44. And as long as Unitas is in there, this isn't over yet. He just took Baltimore 80 yards. In their double slot to the sideline. And it is, I think they call it a completion. Willie Richardson with sample on him. Working in those sidelines to stop the clock. Now 3 minutes to go. Amazing how many plays you can get off if you work those sidelines.
And here, Kurt, is where John Unitas is absolutely brilliant. He has no peer when it comes to the 2, and now it's just exactly 3 minutes to go in the football game. The down and outs, the look-ins, he's just brilliant.
Baltimore finally came to life here late in the game. And now they're threatening. They've just scored and they're right back again. Second down. 4 to go. And it's complete to Jimmy Orr. Jimmy Orr on a slant pattern, catching that ball. And Baltimore will have a quick lineup here.
Here he is, John fires. This pass has been the big pass all day. He just gets himself between the defender and the passer.
Back to live action to the sideline again, and complete. And Unitas now is really getting hot. Willie Richardson caught that one. Unitas in dramatic fashion, after being injured all year, coming off the bench and trying to save the Colts from one of sports history's biggest upsets. If he pulls this one out, what a story it's going to be. It is knocked down by Johnny Sample, covering Willie Richardson. He was running a post pattern, and Sample just stuck that hand in there in front of him.
You're going to see a really great defensive play right here. Here's Richardson beating what looks like Sample. Sample's arm comes right over the football. Great play.
3rd and 5. Baltimore on the Jet 19. He has the time, and his pass is no good. They got to him. Rochester, 72, the left tackle, finally hit him as Unitas went down, and also number 81, Jerry Philbin. Now, 4th and 5. Baltimore on the Jet 19 with 2:26 to play, and the Jets leading 17-6. 16-7. On the 19, 4th and 5. And this will be it for Baltimore if they don't hit this one. 4th and 5. Unitas back. His pass incomplete, and the Jets take over. Grantham covering the linebacker, number 60, going back to cover Jimmy Orr. And he really got back as he backpedaled off. But give Johnny Unitas a lot of credit for rallying the Baltimore team in its offense.
Kurt, they said that the linebackers, that the Baltimore Colts have always praised the linebackers of the New York Jets. They said the linebackers are like having 7 halfbacks, and these boys have done an outstanding job.
Now the Jets are going to try and stall this game away. They're on their own 20-yard line with a first down. They can't stall all the time remaining on that scoreboard, but maybe they can use up quite a bit of it. 2:21 left to play. The Jets leading 16-7. Out now the second half.
And a big one. You're going to see, Kurt, every time they stop it, they call the timeout. But that's as important to Joe Namath as moving the football. And I'm sure Joe would rather move the football.
Snell now has run for 106 yards in this game.
The direction he wants to go in.
Wade Eubank, arms crossed, built Baltimore, gave them their foundation for the championship. He won 2 world titles there. Unitas was his quarterback. They released him. He came over to the Jets, and here in his 6th year, he won the AFL championship this year, and he could win the world championship, depending on what happens here in the last 2 minutes and 8 seconds. 3rd and 4 for the Jets. If they could get a first down now, it'd be something for them. Gives it to Snell, and Snell may have it. Ooh, he's run hard today. Jerry Logan, number 20, came up. And it is a first down for the New York Jets. And the 2-minute warning is being given. Action will continue here at the Super Bowl. The score, the New York Jets 16 and the Baltimore Colts 7. Well, they said that Namath, who put himself on the spot by talking all week, saying how the Jets would win it, he'd have to have a perfect game, and he's had just about that. His team has fumbled only once today, and that was on a pass reception by Sauer. Namath's called a heady game. He's read the Baltimore tricky, sophisticated defenses, and he has led his team beautifully. First down, the Jets on their own 30. Has called time. No, they haven't. They haven't called time. The clock is moving now. With 1 minute and 30 seconds remaining, the New York Jets, Boozer goes out. The New York Jets leading 16-7. And right in their grasp is one of the greatest upsets in sports history. Not just a win, but a convincing victory. Coddling on the statistic today. He's of the Orange Bowl Publicity Committee. Well, the Jets have done it. 30 seconds to go. They'll win $15,000 apiece. Baltimore 7,500. Another long signal count by Namath. And they'll penalize them back with 22 seconds to go. If you don't think that isn't a dejected Baltimore bench right now, what are their feelings? They were anywhere from 18 to 22-point favorites. They were ridiculing the Jets and the AFL. The Colts call one of the greatest teams in the history of pro football. Joe Namath has been named the most valuable player of this game. And rightly so. 22 seconds remaining. Third down. And 18 to go for the Jets. 16-7, the Jets leading. Here's Snell. He doesn't want to go outside. He stays inside. Austin puts him down along with number 53, Dennis Daubatz. Now 15 seconds remaining in the game. Baltimore calls their last timeout. Don Shula. Don Shula, the Baltimore coach, was a pupil of Weeb Eubank. He used to play for Eubank. There's Eubank. Very, very underrated coach. The Jets get a big hand, including Namath and Snell, but it's that interior line that deserves a hand today. Winston Hill at left tackle. Bob Talamini at left guard. John Schmidt at center. Randy Rasmussen at right guard and Dave Herman at right tackle. Remember, the AFL beat the NFL 13 times in exhibition games to 10. Now, they said those are only preseason games. But with a common draft, the AFL has been coming on, and they've showed it here today. Now we'll have the punt. Look out. Ooh, he just got it away. Timmy Brown runs out of bounds on the 34-yard line of Baltimore. 8 seconds to go. Watch this Jet team when this one's over. They were as big as underdogs as a bunch of college all-stars for that college all-star game. And they were insulted. And as Paul Rochester, their tackle, said, I'd rather be 19-point underdogs than 19-point favorites. Well, 8 seconds to go. Baltimore's ball on their 34. Johnny Unitas rallied his team here, but it's too late. Sideline, over the head of Richardson. 4 seconds to go. What a win for Eubank. What a win for this 61-year-old man. Last year of his contract. You think they might renew it, Al?
You know, he certainly has tremendous class. I saw him yesterday morning leaving, and I said, Weeb, should we talk about it now? And he says, no, let's do it like we do it every week. We'll talk before the game. He's just tremendous. He's happy, and he's done the things that you have to do.
He's been nothing but praise of Shula and the Baltimore team all the way, and they're to be praised. All right, here's Unitas again. The pass to Richardson. He has the ball. The game is over. The New York Jets are the world champions. They have upset the Baltimore Colts and beat them handily here today. They not only defeated them, but held them. Here's Shula going over. They shut out the Jets, or the Colts, till the last 3 minutes and 19 seconds of the game. And Eubank putting his arms around Shula, who was one of his favorite players when Shula played for him. Eubank always said he'd be a great coach. There's the final score. The Jets beating the Baltimore Colts 16-7 gives the AFL the first Super Bowl championship. They said it would be years before they play a close game, and they almost shut out the Colts today. And one going away until Unitas rallied the Baltimore Colts. We'll be very shortly down in the Jet locker room. We'll also be trying to visit. There goes Namath, who wins Sport Magazine's award as the most valuable player. He'll get the new 1969 Dodge Charger RT. And if Namath made some money before this game, what's he going to do after the game? We'll be back for a review of the game and all the post-game activities, including a visit to the clubhouses immediately following station identification. Well, you've all read and heard all kinds of pregame dope during the week. I think one big sidelight has been Joe Namath. Joe Namath, of course, is the man that the Colts have to stop. But Namath has not been bashful this week. He has downgraded quarterback Earl Morrall, and he has said that the Jets are going to win. He doesn't even predict it. He said, I guarantee a Jet victory.
Attitude is a whole lot in life, and I had a terrific attitude about that game, and I believe our team did too. The other side may have thought they were ready. They weren't ready.
They should have been very upset that Joe guaranteed the game. If they were as good as what they said they were, they should have came out and beat the shit out of us. They didn't do it.
5 times the Colts threatened in the first half. All 5 times they failed to score.
For New York. They had Jimmy all alone and they didn't see him.
We had a good game plan. We knew they weren't going to see some of the things we were doing in those days the AFL was doing. We confused them.
The Jets' offense hoped to frustrate Colts defensive end Bubba Smith. Number 67 tackle Dave Herman was in charge of blocking him.
Bubba was the best defensive end going at that time. I mean, he was a giant, he was quick, he was strong, he was aggressive, you know, he had all the tools. Herman would have nightmares, literally. Knocked his wife out of the bed, that kind of stuff, man. He's got to block Bubba, you know. Dave stayed in his chest all day long.
Namath received great protection, but his weapons were limited. Don Maynard was hampered by a sore hamstring.
I had the injury that people supposedly knew about, but maybe after the Oakland game, everybody thought maybe I was completely well.
Didn't want Baltimore to know anything. Coach Eubank didn't want Baltimore to know anything.
Rather than altering their game plan, the Jets sent Maynard deep early. The pass did not connect, but the play had served its purpose.
They doubled Maynard every play, which left Snell, Boozer, Mathis, Sire one-on-one most of the time.
Maynard, acting primarily as a decoy, did not register a catch all game. Namath picked apart the Colts by spreading the ball to the rest of the team.
No penalties, let's get a touchdown up there. Here, get a touchdown, no penalties.
Namath, red hot. Everybody thought he'd get killed in this game. He has killed Baltimore so far. That's Snell's been the outstanding runner so far. He's in there, Snell scores.
In the second half, Namath extended the Jets' lead. But just when the Jets were on the brink of putting the Colts away, Namath left with an injured thumb, while Unitas replaced Morrall.
And it's ironical that the young fellow, Namath, went out with an injury, and Unitas gets almost a standing ovation here, which he should. One of the greatest players in the history of pro football.
I tell you, when Johnny Unitas came in the game, you're concerned and all of that.
Get him, Big Green, get him, Big Green.
Unitas, instead of becoming the Colts' savior, merely symbolized their desperation.
Intercepted. Andy Beverly downs it. That's the 4th interception by the Jets in the game. And they have still shut out the mighty Colts.
They were like a punch-drunk fighter who just got up after 10 rounds and he says, "Where is he? I can beat him. I know I can beat him." They were beaten. They were done.
He may be sitting in one of sports' greatest upsets in history.
Namath returned and led the Jets to one last score. In the final quarter, Namath put the game in the hands of number 41, fullback Matt Snell. Snell ate the clock, moved the chains, and propelled the Jets into history.
York Jets are the world champions. They have upset the Baltimore Colts and beat them handily here today.
You're going to get a check for $15,000. I said, I don't want no check. I want mine in dimes. I want mine in dimes. I want to feel it.
The quarterback who nearly lost his team by being undisciplined had now won a championship by becoming the consummate team captain. Namath did not call a pass in the fourth quarter, yet he was the game's most valuable player.
Unitas back to pass. 2 seconds, 1 second. Unitas throwing to Richardson. He has the ball in the 49. Put down by Sample. The clock has run out, and the ball game is over. There's the gun, and the Jets are champions of the football world.
And the minute the game was over, the first thing that entered my mind was the game ball. To go get the football, and I got the football, and from then on, all I remember doing is the vertical leap. I think mine might have been a world's record because all I knew was that it was probably the happiest, most fantastic moment of my life.
When the game ended, there was such a feeling of elation, joy, a tickling explosion inside. The teammates, you know, we did it! We did it, you know? It was wonderful. And going off that field, everybody's cheering funny. We did it, we did it, we did it. We were number one. I didn't think about it. It was just, yes, yes, yes. Oh, it was great.
It was called the biggest upset in sports history. For the first time, the nation had to recognize the existence and the worth of the new league.
What are you going to do with the money, John? I don't know. Money's not important, you know. It's the win. We're the world champs, you know. That's the only important thing.
We'll say this to everybody. We're humble winners. I think the NFL should be humble winners also. I'd like to think that this will bring all of football closer together, because if this does anything, this will solidify the thinking of the public that football is football, the American League and the NFL can be mentioned in the same breath.
To me, Dave Herman and Matt Snell were two guys on our offense that carried that game. I did a good job, but MVP, okay, we'll take it. I'm glad.
Got to have confidence in your team, got to have confidence in yourself, and if you don't have that confidence, you can't play football. We all felt we could win, we won. Baltimore felt they could win, they lost.
Joe, you're king of the hill.
No, we're king of the hill. We got the team, brother.
After winning Super Bowl III, Joe Namath was asked if this should be considered an historic win.
I don't know about that. I know it's a hell of a loss for those folks that picked it the other way.
This time, the player who had become larger than life had sold himself short. Pro football would never be the same.
The next week, we went up to the AFL All-Star game. All those guys, they all just came up. Man alive, it's great, we all beat them.
The significance of that game for the players around the country, the other AFL players, how they felt, how their families felt, and how their fans felt. It was really more than just the Jets winning against the Colts. We won for the league, the AFL. We got to see Pete Rozelle. He said, fellas, that check that you got, he said, you're going to spend that. He said, but that ring you're going to get, he said, that's the intrinsic value. He said, the significance of that, nobody can ever take it away from you. That is the intrinsic value. And I never forget that. And I never used that word in my vocabulary before, but I used it ever since.
The greatest part of all was that's tough. I guess the fact really of just the great teammates that you won and lost together, celebrated and cried about.
The Jets returned to New York as conquering heroes.
I tell you, it was a party in New York for about a month. Everywhere you went, no matter what it was, if it was a club, if it was a theater, people were so happy and so proud of the New York Jets as if they were a part of our team, and they were.
In a sense, it had to do with reinventing New York. It just became bigger than itself. It became the Big Apple. Everyone knows New York, but those were swift times. There were all kinds of things happening, and this was, by pure coincidence, a timely event that fit in so perfectly with its time, and I think lifted the whole thing into a bigger thing than just a game, even a championship one. It started big time everything.
That game, still to this day, is picked on ESPN this year before the Super Bowl, the greatest Super Bowl ever played. And not only for the game itself, but for what it did for football, because that game made the NFL what it is today.
The Jets' win validated the merger of the NFL and AFL. Pro football became more popular and profitable than ever.
Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Namath.
Well, we have about 20 guys back here who won the World Championship, but you can't see. I wish you'd stand up. Fellas, come on. This is our football team. A lot of guys here. The World Championship football team.
The same three words always come out when I look at it. We did it. We did it. Every day in the locker room, doing training camp, doing a regular season, you know, teams, guys talk about winning. They want to win a championship. Well, we did it. You know, I get goosebumps talking about it now. Doing it as an underdog is wonderful, too. There's a lot of underdogs out there in the world. And sometimes they need some reassurance that they can come back, man. Cop an attitude. Get mean and go do it. I like that.
Later, in their new Shea Stadium home, the Jets won the AFL championship. Linebacker Larry Grantham was one of 4 ex-Titans still on the roster. Don Maynard was still there as well, and teaming with Namath, he became the most feared deep receiver in football. Maynard, Grantham, Curly Johnson, and Bill Mathis, number 31, all were former Titans who played in the Super Bowl upset of Baltimore. At the final gun, it was Larry Grantham who took off with a game ball, completing the long climb from Coogan's Bluff to the summit of pro football.
It was probably the happiest, most fantastic moment of my life. You know, I got a picture on my wall in my office that it's not in color. It's Larry Grantham in a New York Titan uniform. I look at it every day. There's not any time that goes by in my life that I don't realize where we came from and where we wound up.
Basically, what it means to me, it's an identity. It was a great tribute to the old Titans team, you know, 4 of us that actually lasted, you know, long enough to win a Super Bowl. I know that we, on that particular day, that we were world champs. We kicked Baltimore's butt. And that makes me wear that with a lot of pride.
But while the game itself flourished, the Jets went into decline. In 1969, they lost to Kansas City in the AFL playoffs. The Chiefs battered Joe Namath and held the Jets without a touchdown. The Jets would not return to the postseason for another 12 years. From 1970 through 1974, Namath sat out 28 of 56 regular season games due to injury. But when he was able to play, he proved the old magic was still there.
The greatest game, the comeback game that we lost, was against the 49ers at the stadium.
It was week 11 of the 1971 season. Namath was sidelined by an injury. But when the other Jet quarterbacks went down in the fourth quarter, Namath entered the game.
And he comes in there, and we go down the field, we score a touchdown. And the place is going crazy. We kick off to them, boom, our defense holds, boom, they punt to us. It's halfway through the fourth quarter. Namath comes back, takes the team down, scores a touchdown, you know. The place is going crazy. Right? And we kick off to them, and our defense holds. There's a minute and a half left, and we get the ball on the 8-yard line, and Namath takes it right down the whole field. The stadium is going crazy. One play left, and he throws a pass, one pass to Eddie Bell, and what happened? And the defender is there and catches the ball. We lost 21-17. But the people kept clapping for 15 minutes after the game was over. It was the greatest game, the greatest comeback I've ever seen. You know, as far as even losing the game, but the people and what that guy could do was unbelievable.
Joe Namath played 12 seasons with the Jets. In his later years, Namath was a hobbling shadow of the superstar who led the Jets to glory in Super Bowl III. But in the collective memory of American sports fans, he will always be Broadway Joe. The first quarterback to pass for 4,000 yards in a season. The first quarterback to lead the AFL to victory over the NFL. And the first Jets player elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. There will only be one Joe Namath.
Namath is like one of those great athletes who lives fast and dies young. Bill Walton, Gale Sayers, Sandy Koufax have a few great seasons and leave an indelible mark because of it. Those guys, they're meteors, but they light up the sky when they're great.